So what's happening in Ethiopia? So there's a few things I want to hit on.
Reports suggest heavy fighting between the army and militiamen known as Fano is taking
In
place.
the northern part of Ethiopia, a group called Fano is fighting against the government. In the southern part of Ethiopia, another group, that's Dejene, that's fighting. Like, if we can find a way to everybody come to the table.
Ethiopia has taken a step to economic stability.
This had the economic reform, which Ethiopia got billions of dollars from, like IMF, from World Bank, Gondar, like different cities are being renovated.
This will be the starting point for our cooperation.
Ethiopia needs a port. Hello guys, welcome back to Dejene Ethiopia Tours. I'm Dejene Hodes, and today I want to share with you guys a little bit of my thoughts and what's going on in Ethiopia, and we'll try to go through like 10 different points of what's happening in Ethiopia. That's it. I hope you guys like it. If you don't, maybe if I say something that you disagree with and stuff like that, share with me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I got some information wrong. But in general, there's so much stuff going on, and obviously there's a lot that we may not agree on. There might be a lot that we agree on. So let's get to it. What's happening in Ethiopia? So there's a few things I want to hit up. We're going to talk about the peace stuff that's going on, domestic wars and maybe other conflicts that are rising. What are the challenges and what's going on with the economy, political developments, and like what's the environment? How is Ethiopia, navigating its challenges with its neighbors? What are the social and cultural dynamics that are playing out in Ethiopia? What are the opportunities and challenges facing Ethiopia right now? For changing the economy, changing the climate, environmental sustainability, all that kind of stuff that we're trying to work on. What are the hopes and aspirations for Ethiopians and Ethiopia in general? I'll try to touch up on that and what I think about it and what my dream is. Those will be the things that we talk about, and obviously these are my thoughts, my personal thoughts, and we can disagree, we can agree, and at the end of the day, all we want is love, peace, and prosperity for Ethiopia. I love Ethiopia, so that's all I want for Ethiopia. So let's start with the first one. So the state of peace in Ethiopia. As you guys know, recently we had domestic war with the Tigray region up in the northern part of Ethiopia. For a lot of people that don't know, I'm not gonna make this too complicated, but there was a party that ruled Ethiopia for about 27 years, 28 years. That was from the northern part of Ethiopia called Tigray region. And then when this new government was elected, there's for a year or two there's some conflicts, riots, and there's a lot of things happening. Then they advocated their position, and the new government came in, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and that slowly caused things to tensions start rising, and then a lot of the leaders from the past went back to the north and armed themselves. They're already armed, obviously. They had a lot of weapons and stuff there, and we had a very big civil war. And obviously the government won, and there was an agreement in Pretoria in South Africa, and to cease fire, agreed on some peaceful stuff, transitions, and that's the state of that. But after that, we had a few different problems. So now in the northern part of Ethiopia, a group called Fano is fighting against the government, a rebel group that's fighting against the government. In the southern part of Ethiopia, there's another group that's Dejene that's fighting, and there's another maybe two or so smaller groups that I don't know about, but like it's just hard to know which one is what right now, but there is groups fighting the government. So one of the things to understand is the Fano is trying to protect the Amhara region, and the down south Oromia region, the Dejene, they're saying we're protecting Oromo, and they're fighting everybody. So that's a bit of tension going on, and there's a group that recently, part of the southern part of Ethiopia, the Dejene group, that they created peace with and came to an agreement, and they have been transitioning into the actual government. Like all the people went into the military camp, gave up their weapons, and they have a peaceful agreement. Their leaders are talking with the government leaders and seeing how the next transitions are, and they're going through training, rehabilitation, and the whole thing. So that's happening in a very peaceful way. Instead of war, they're coming to an understanding of each other and signing agreements, and it's peaceful. So that's fantastic for Ethiopia. So that's what's going on. So the government has an election coming up in about a year. So that we'll see what happens with that. Let's see what happens, whether this government wins or a new party will win. I mean, the chance of a new group winning is very hard. But my thinking is, so there's a few people from different opposition parties in parliament right now who have, like different positions in government that are from the opposition party. So I'm hoping that there'll be, challenges that come up, people that challenge, and they get a seat in the government. Even if they don't win the whole thing, they get a seat in the government, and they get to say and raise thoughts and ideas of their own that help their region and different things, and stuff like that. So right now, I think the leader from Somalia is from opposition, and also the head of the Ethiopian education system is an opposition party, which is great, which is what you want. Different people from different areas coming to the table and actually doing what they are pushing for, what they're opposing. So that's fantastic. And according to a recent interview of the minister himself, saying, the government, they haven't, because he's in opposition, it wasn't like his ideas were being quashed, or like he said, it's the opposite. Like they've never questioned things that he wants to implement. They've actually been very supportive of it, the leadership and the whole thing. So that's hopefully there'll be 5 more people, 6 more people that are from different opposition parties that go in there and get their positions. So that's what's going on right now. But as of right now, there's an election coming up in about a year. The government is working hard at all the infrastructure stuff, so we'll see what happens. But like I said, there's a bit of fighting going up in the north and fighting going on down in the south Ethiopia, in the Oromia region. And so we're kind of navigating through that. And hopefully those will come to a peaceful resolution and understanding, and coming together to work on some good stuff for Ethiopia. What are the challenges in Ethiopia rebuilding its economy? So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, because we just had the economic reform, which Ethiopia got billions of dollars from like IMF, from World Bank, and the whole thing to really boost its economy and restructure its economy. So one of the things that we're doing that are very, very important is Ethiopia is about to have the stock market. So that's pretty exciting. So we're very soon. They've been working on all the regulations and rules and all that kind of stuff, and also all the different type of businesses that are needed to run like a stock market. So like investment banking, agents that are brokerage firms and stuff like that, like different things that people are getting licenses to open those practices. Companies are getting ready to be able to be traded on the stock market, and then also regulations are talking about like what information they have to comply, what information they have to give to the public. That whole thing is taking some time, and they're working on it, but we're very close. And one of the biggest things that is coming is Ethiopian Airlines is going to be on that. That's the government-owned, one of the most profitable airlines in the world. Fantastic. Then Ethiopia Telecom, I think they're selling 10% on that also. Fantastic. Recently, Ethiopia Telecom released a way for people to buy certain shares. So on the Ethiopia Telecom app, so you can actually buy shares and stuff. It's being traded. It's a government, one of the most profitable companies for the government that's going to be traded on the stock market, and people will be able to buy everything. Another big thing that is happening right now is they're allowing international banks to come into Ethiopia, either operate on their own, partner with the Ethiopian bank, buy an Ethiopian bank, have shares in Ethiopian banks and stuff like that. So the market is really opening up. And recently, one of the biggest changes that we did in Ethiopia is opening up, kind of floating the Ethiopian money. So the Ethiopian Birr to dollar was pegged. So the government told you how much you can buy for and how much you can sell it for. And that kind of created two markets. So the legal bank rate, whatever the government gave you, and then the black market, which was maybe 110% higher. So at some point when they changed, it was, bank rate was $1 was 57 birr, Ethiopian money, and then black market was $1 was like 120, 130 or something like that. So, obviously nobody is going to trade unless you have to for some legal requirements. Everybody traded on the black market, and that created chaos for, as you can see, for the businesses, for people, and the whole thing. So then they removed that, they floated the birr, so it's an open market for how much to trade, and they brought in a lot of money, billions of dollars, to be able to float that. So if you went to the bank and said, I need money, you'd be able to get dollars. So then you don't need to go to the black market. So that was one of the big things that changed Ethiopia. And people, thought of it's going to crash the economy and stuff like that. But one of the very fundamental things to understand is, like, other than very few, maybe governmental and very few people, almost everybody used the black market. So it wasn't like, like there was one economy, like it was two different economies that was happening, and now it's unified, and one birr is $127. $1 is 127 birr ish, and the black market might be up maybe 2, maybe 3, 5 birr at max, and that's such a huge achievement, because that could have collapsed the economy, and then now the question is, will they have enough money to keep on giving people dollars when they need for businesses, personal travel, and all that kind of stuff? Will they have money? And what they're saying is, like, the gold export is going up, the coffee export is going up, and also people are sending money through the bank, like, people remittance, like people who are sending money from home for gifts and supporting their families from all over the world are actually sending through the bank. So now the government and the banks have money to be able to give people, so they don't need to go to the black market, which is a fantastic thing. So all that together, the economy seems to be doing okay. Still things are expensive, life is expensive, but we just came through, we're having civil war, so not a lot of production in a lot of areas happening, but even through that we're sustaining. We're actually doing better than a lot of countries. If you look at, like, what the economies are happening in different parts of the world, we're actually doing better, but we live in it, so when it gets harder we just think it's happening to us. So it's bad, but it's not as bad as if you look at it globally. And I'm not trying to be like supportive of the government or some things like Sudan. You can look at Sudan, Somalia, and other countries, even Kenya, like the people had rights over bread and stuff like that. And then look at internationally, even Brazil and what's going on. So even some European countries that are having really hard difficulty. So I mean, it's a global thing. We just came from COVID really crushed a lot of things, and then we had our civil war, and then the Ukraine and Russia war, and so there's a lot of things that are affecting the economy, and the fact that we've been able to actually even sustain to the level that we are, and we're paying off our debts in a significant way, is a huge thing. We finished the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, so that's a huge thing for Ethiopia as an asset. That means a dam that's going to give a lot of electricity and also be able to sell electricity to Sudan, Djibouti, and Kenya. I think that's our agreements right now, and we might even actually be extending to Tanzania, which is quite crazy. So, and that kind of stuff. So on coffee exports, we're increasing. Gold, we're increasing. Wheat, we're not importing anymore. They worked really hard to be able to produce enough wheat in the country so that we cover ourselves. We're not importing. And the idea is like, I think maybe this year, next year, whatever, is like to actually export wheat and rice. So that's what's going on with that. So with the economy opening up, stock market, and being able to not import as much and export maybe a little bit more coffee, gold, the things that we export, and other like seeds, sesame seeds, and a bunch of different other seeds that we export. Those things are trying to increase, and also exporting less, meaning like the wheat, instead of importing more, we're actually not importing. One of the major things that we actually got out of the country that wasn't on the news a lot, which is very surprising to me, was that Ethiopia just got like a grandfather chicken, so chicken generation. So instead of like getting seedlings and just we didn't have a way to produce our own chickens in Ethiopia. So grandfather chickens, it's a very interesting thing that I didn't know about, but like only a few countries control the actual chicken. So what that means, like once you get that chicken, you raise it, it gives birth to it gives you eggs, but the egg won't actually produce chickens, so good chickens and stuff like that. So now we're actually are able to reproduce those chickens. We got the genes and grandfather chicken, and we need to look that up, and I'll give you guys a sense on that. But that is a very big thing. So we're trying to like get to like, Ethiopia has 120 million plus people right now. So we're trying to get to produce maybe 5 chickens per person per year, 3, 2, 1. Right now we're not at 1, like we're at like 30 million, 20 something million. So even at that, and eggs, that's trying to improve. Milk, we're trying to improve that. Honey, we're trying to improve that. So when those things are fed and done, because we produce a lot of honey, if we produce a lot of chickens and we get eggs and we have a lot of meat, we have the largest population of livestock in Africa. So if we are able to manage that properly, so people can have some meat, chicken, eggs, all the wheat and stuff will be taken care of. So that's a great thing. So that's what we're working on. In the tourism area, government is doing a lot. So I just made a video on all the things that are happening in Addis Ababa. In this video, we'll talk about a little bit of like all the tourism stuff that we're doing. So a lot of places are getting renovated. So a lot of palaces, a lot of like tourist destinations, like the churches, Lalibela churches of Ethiopia, south, even like, the city of Harar, beautiful city, a Muslim city, is being renovated, beautify, bringing the beauty back up, and trying to add infrastructure so it's like easier and nicer to travel to Bahardar, Gondar, like different cities are being renovated. And on top of that, the government has been building a lot of resorts and hotels, like raising money to build them, getting funding from like the EU, China, and different countries and different people and different investors that are coming back to Ethiopia and investing in these things to build like 5-star resorts in different parts of Ethiopia throughout the country, so that people can go there and actually see the beauty of Ethiopia, and they have a place to stay. And then once that infrastructure is done there, other people go and invest there and build their own hotels and expand the tourism sector. So there's like 6-7 different resorts that have been built in different parts of Ethiopia. We'll show you as a B-roll, but that's been a fantastic thing for the country. I mean, people are not like, there's not a lot of travelers right now, but the infrastructure is getting ready to be able to have a lot of people come to Ethiopia and travel and see different parts of Ethiopia, and actually have the accommodations to stay in different places, really nice 5-star accommodations to stay in different places and tour different parts of Ethiopia, like elephants down South Ethiopia. That was not seen by a lot of people, and now there's a beautiful place to stay down there and you can see it. And so once everything is connected, that'll be great. And all of this is the hotels are being run by the Ethiopian, under Ethiopian Airlines, but there's a hotel called the Skylight Hotel, which is run by Ethiopian Airlines, and that's gonna run all of it. So the management will be good. They know how to cater to people. They run Ethiopian Airlines, so they hopefully will know how to run this and make it good. They already have one hotel in Addis Ababa. They're gonna add one more, and then different parts of the country. So that'll be fantastic. And even like other bigger chains in Ethiopia, hotel chains are opening up. Haile Resort is opening up a bunch. Kriftu Resort is opening up a bunch. So there's be great infrastructure done. So now what we need is that peace and infrastructure like the roads and stuff to be nice, and that's it. And I think we'll have a really nice majority of travelers to come to Ethiopia, because Ethiopia has history, culture, tradition. Like there's nothing that Ethiopia doesn't have. Like if you want to hike, beautiful places to hike, and depending if you want to go north and then hike and then go south and hike, you'd be mind blown how different it is, how amazing it is, how it feels. Cultural, religious tours, photography tours, nature tours, bird watching tours. I mean, I can't really say enough of the different types of stuff that we have. So that would be fantastic. One of the things, Ethiopia and its neighbors, how is that happening? So right now, there's a problem when Ethiopia was building the dam. The dam is on the Nile. The Nile starts from Ethiopia. So we dammed it, and we had a lot of problems with Egypt, and then also Sudan, but mainly Egypt really, because all the water goes there. So that was a lot of tension for a long time, but now it's done. The water is still flowing, and there's not really much that can be done with that. So we're moving on to a different thing. The big thing that we're moving on to is Ethiopia needs a port. So we're one of the largest landlocked countries in the world. And if you look at it, the way Eritrea locks us in, Djibouti, then Somalia, like we're locked in. So one of the things the government has stated very strongly, and is working on very strongly, is Ethiopia needs a port. And there's not really much argument on that. We need a port. Like, it's a country that's huge, 130 million people. That's going to be 150 million people. The economy is growing, so we need a port. So now, how do we achieve that? That's the main discussion. So they were trying to say, hey, let's give you guys a portion of like Ethiopian Airlines, Ethiopian Telecom, or even the dam that we just finished. Like, can work out some kind of business agreement, lease, whatever it is, like a 99-year lease or 50-year lease or whatever, and we build that up, and then we'll see what happens. So that's been a big tension, and so Ethiopia went and made a memorandum of understanding with Somaliland that's cut off for Somalia. So that created big tension, because Somaliland, even though it's been running on its own for the past, I think 30 years, close to 30 years if I'm not wrong, but running on its own as an independent thing, but nobody recognized it as a country. So that was a big thing. So I think the agreement was Ethiopia to recognize as a country, but then also to have access to the port, to the Red Sea, and have a lease, and we would build our infrastructure there. So that's caused quite a rumble with Ethiopia, Somaliland, and recently we've come to a peaceful agreement in Turkey, of all places, negotiated a peace deal with them. Both the leaders were there, they signed an agreement, and hopefully we'll see what happens. But Ethiopia is very strong on saying we need a port. My take on that is quite interesting, because I don't understand why not give Ethiopia access to the port. If we pay fairly, not just give it to Ethiopia, but we can pay for it. We can have some kind of agreement. Maybe even give you land on different, because Ethiopia has a huge land. It's a huge country. The way the map the world is shown, Africa seems smaller than it is. It's a huge country. So why not? That's one of the things that why doesn't Eritrea get into a deal with Ethiopia where we pay them, or they get a part of Ethiopian Airlines, Ethiopian Telecom, or the dam, or some other way of agreement, and they give us a port. Somalia, why not Djibouti? For Djibouti, I kind of understand, because that's what we're using right now, and we pay them a lot of money, so that makes sense. For the other, and it's not like they're using it. Somalia doesn't have a huge economy, so ports, there's no huge ports, and there's not a lot of ships going through that. So it's not like they're using it. It's just, I don't know what's happening. So that's the question that's going on. So there's a lot of things that are being done, like I said. So economy opening up, agriculturally, there's a lot of infrastructure stuff, like trying to export more coffee, more gold, more wheat, rice, and different fruits and stuff like that. Like either sustaining ourselves and not importing, or sustaining then exporting. Then also like when it comes to climate change and stuff like that, Ethiopia has a movement called like the Green Legacy. So that's like trying to, plant billions of trees throughout Ethiopia to be able to sustain and fight back climate change and global warming. So that's a big interest. Then beautifying the city. So we're going through a whole thing of like really tearing down Addis and rebuilding a lot of it. The roads, the infrastructure, beautifying it, and all that stuff is happening. So that's like a great awakening. And in general, there's a few different things that are happening that are quite exciting. Like recently the government announced the 5 million coder initiative. So Ethiopia needs coders because the future of the world is really technology and coding and AI and all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have coders, you can't participate in that. With funding from UAE, Ethiopia is going to have 5 million coders. So that's going to be quite exciting. Not exciting, but it's like fantastic infrastructure to have. And then all of those, people start their own startups, their own small ideas, and that grows, and that creates an infrastructure for technology, and especially technology in the new digital age. As a country, that's very, 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 very important. So that's a great fight for us, and I'm really, really liking that. That's a very, very big movement. Right now, one of the biggest challenges that Ethiopia faces as a whole is we're not really, as a country, on the same page of the direction to go, because some people are scared of their like legacy, meaning like if you're from Oromia, then they say like, it's my turn to rule kind of thinking. Amhara is scared of like, if the Oromo rule, they're gonna destroy us and kill us. Like these sections of the country that are not really aligned and moving together. Like if we can find a way to everybody come to the table, and instead of like, if I say something that you don't agree with, and especially if you're an Ethiopian and you don't agree with me, like don't get mad at me, like just correct me at the bottom and say like, hey, this is what you know, this is what you don't know, and this is why you're wrong. And don't do it as a mean way, and don't do it as insulting me, because then I don't pay attention to you if you insult me. But if we actually get a dialogue and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that information, or I didn't know about that part, then we kind of slowly come together. So I'm hoping through time, through small, as social media, all the people that are hyping things up in the different for their own means and their own growth and whatever, like if you post negative stuff, your videos would go viral. Like right now, if I actually posted like really negative stuff and how the country is going to shit and how crazy it is, like this video would do 10 times better. But that's not my goal. Like I like Ethiopia, I love Ethiopia, I love here. What I want is understand it. There might be parts that I don't understand, there might be parts that I do understand, and those are the parts that I'm seeing opportunities in and things that I want to do in and participate in. So I think it will take maybe 3, 4, 5 years for us to slowly come together as one unit, instead of this tribal tribal way of thinking of just my part, my neighbors, my city, my tribe kind of thinking that we really don't need in Ethiopia. So I hope that makes some sense. I hope I hope that you understand that there's just so much going on. If you have any questions, I'm happy to give you my personal perspective on things. You can ask me in the comments below. So like the challenges for Ethiopia, there are just way too many things going, way too many initiatives going, but also at the same time, kind of some of the thinking is, why do all of those things now? We're not a rich country. Why do so many, like beautifying the city, building resorts, expanding Ethiopian Airlines? They're about to build a new airport. They just ordered 120 planes for Ethiopian Airlines, like trying to renovate and expand and grow and do all that, even to the military and to different things. So that, why so many things at the same time, is a big question. but also at the same time, if you do it now, and you kind of get in there and really get yourself dirty and you really achieve a great thing, then the better the greater, because if you do it slowly, then it never ends. So I think, I don't know, to me it kind of makes sense, but also makes a lot of things very hard for people. Like tourism, nobody's coming to Ethiopia, not nobody, but like very little people are coming to Ethiopia right now. So that makes it hard for me. I know I like it to be peaceful and not a lot of stuff going on, and do it for myself, but that doesn't really work for the country. So I'm hoping in the next like 6 months, year, things are peaceful, all the resorts will be full, tourists will be walking around Addis Ababa and saying like, where am I? Even right now there's like videos you can look up of people really traveling through Addis and looking at night, especially, saying like, what is going on here? So I hope that happens. I hope people like it, and I hope you like it too. And please subscribe. We need to get to 10,000 subscribers very soon, so that I can go to different places, actually show you, instead of just sitting here and telling you about it. Like I can take you there, go and show you the beautiful Ethiopia, some hiking, and you can join me on some of the hikes, or city tours or religious tours during holidays. So we'll do a lot of that. Thank you very much. I hope you guys like this, and I'll talk to you soon.